Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I'm continuing on with my awesome games from A to Z, and today's letter is C. Now if you're not too familiar with what I'm doing, I'm pretty much going through the whole alphabet and finding games in each letter that are either, meant something to me, or I just thought were really cool, or, just ones I'd just like to categorize as an awesome game. And so for C today, I've chosen a variety of different games from different systems. So normally what I do is I start with like the Atari or television or whatever the earliest one I have and kind of work my way up. So this one might be a little out of order because one of them is on a bunch of different systems. So to start off with the Atari, Crystal Castles. Now this game, I remember playing the arcade game of this one. Actually, the local store, the corner store, I think it was called Becker's. I think that's what it was. It had a, remember, it had an Atari arcade unit, and it had the trackball, and it was Crystal Castles, and me and my friend would go over there and play that all the time. I think we played it until they literally got rid of it. And when it came out on Atari, I was like excited because I couldn't wait to play it. And when I got my Atari, one of my friends ended up buying it for me for a birthday present, and so I played this a lot. And actually, this one I had to hunt down again because it was one of the ones I've lost in my move. But yeah, I mean, it's always a great game. It's kind of like Pac-Man. It's just on that asymmetrical look, and it's kind of like three-dimensional almost. And you're Bentley Bear running around picking up crystals. Now, the only real difference between this game and Pac-Man that I not really a difference, but just playability wise, is Pac-Man can only go, in the direction he's traveling. He doesn't really go up and down within that path. With Bentley Bear, he kind of goes up and down while he's walking. So you can almost run by the crystals, which is kind of annoying. So, it's not just simply going right and left, but you actually have to swerve your bear around to actually go and pick up those things. And I think that's why in the arcade game it used the trackball. But otherwise, great game for the Atari. And the other one I picked up, this isn't really exclusive to Atari, is Choplifter. Now, this is the Atari 7800, which is a really excellent version. But Choplifter's pretty good on almost every system I've played it on. I used to play it on the Commodore 64 when I was a kid. That was the only system I had it on. And I believe I've played it on the ColecoVision. I think I've played it on the ColecoVision, but yeah, Choplifter is a great game. It's very simple. You're literally just a helicopter, and you just got to rescue people, and things are just shooting up at you off the ground. You got to go and pick them up, and then you have to bring your helicopter back. It's a nice game. It's fun. It's challenging. I can say that it is challenging, just maneuvering that helicopter around. But this is a pretty decent game, and especially on the 7800, really has great graphic capabilities on that one. So I'm going to move on to Intellivision, because that was one of my favorite system. Unfortunately, I couldn't find too many titles that I thought I would want to showcase with the C, starting with C, but I picked Carnival, because I think this game, again, it's one of those games that it's kind of great on all the systems that it's on. And this one is very colorful, it's very interesting. It's a nice shooting gallery style game. If you're really into those shooting games, I would suggest trying this one out. It's a little bit better than the Atari version, and I've never actually played the arcade, but it does seem like it's pretty close to what the arcade would have done. So it's actually a pretty decent game, and I remember playing this quite a bit too. So, the Coleco titles for the Intellivision. Some of these did not work on the Intellivision 2, unfortunately. So if you have the Intellivision 2, you're kind of out of luck. But, what are you going to do? Still Carnival. Good game. Moving on, so this one is where it's going to be a bunch of systems, because it's Castlevania on the Nintendo. And I don't know anybody that doesn't like Castlevania. The whole series is just amazing. This was the first one on the NES. Unfortunately, I got a lot of sticker wear on here. I don't really remove my sticker. I know some people do. They get some of that goo gone or whatever, and they slowly remove this stuff. I don't even bother. It's, that's, the store, they stuck them on there to sell it. And course, they could have used the back, but they didn't. They chose to put it on the front. At least they didn't put it on the sticker. But yeah, I mean, Castlevania, same with this one. You know, I got a sticker on there. Castlevania 2. I like this game. And I know a lot of people talk about it, and there's a lot of mixed feelings on it. I like the music in it. I like the pacing of it. You know, it's not overly complicated. It's just too cryptic, and that was one of the biggest problems with it. Without the cheat guides and without the help books and all that stuff, or the internet, this game would be almost impossible to beat. So, but I really like it. I still play it from time to time, even though, you know, I've completed it a few times. And of course, Castlevania 3. This one I bought. I remember buying this in one of my trips to the States with my parents. I'm in Canada, so we didn't go to the States too often. But when we did, I remember we would go across the border to go shopping. And this was when I was, you know, younger. And I remember seeing this. I think it was just when it got released. Maybe just a little bit afterwards. And I didn't own a Castlevania game. So I saw it there in the showcase. And I'm like, I knew I wanted to buy a Nintendo game. I just didn't know which one. And when I saw this, I'm like, cool, Castlevania 3. Now, I've never played the first one or the second one at that time. Well, maybe I played the second one at my friend's house. But I know I didn't play the first one. I didn't play the first one until a little bit later on when my friend had it on the Commodore 64. And even then, it was Commodore 64 version, not the Nintendo version. But Castlevania 3 is definitely one of my top choices for the line. And I know this one, this is Castlevania 4. Some people will say that this is one of the better ones. I do have the Symphony of the Night as well on the PlayStation. You know, this one's good. I couldn't beat it. I got so far, I think, and I kind of lost and gave up. And I do have the Castlevania Chronicles for the PlayStation. This came out, when did this come out? Let's see if I could find the 2001, I think, something like that. But yeah, this is an interesting one. I think this one's kind of rare now too. I've seen people trying to sell this thing for quite a few, you know, quite a bit of money. I don't know why. I didn't actually look into it, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. I remember playing this a bit on my PlayStation. But so that's covering 3 different systems there: Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and PlayStation. I also have the Symphony of the Night. Plus I have the Castlevania Adventure on Game Boy. That one wasn't too bad either. Nice simple version of Castlevania. Keeping with the Nintendo phase, I also picked out a Game Boy game that I really like. And that's Chase HQ. And the reason why I like this was I really loved the arcade game. And I used to play that a lot. Like whenever I went to the arcades, when we went to our, you know, our national exhibition that's held every year, they always had an arcade there, and I always ran towards the Chase HQ game. Even when I had a cottage, we had a family cottage in Bala, near Barrie, if you know Ontario. There was an arcade there, and they had Chase HQ. That's actually the first time I played it, and I was hooked on this game. Both me and my friend, we were going there and just I don't know how many quarters we spent on that game. And I remember when it came out on Game Boy, I had to have it. It's similar. I mean, it's obviously not as good, but it was still cool to have Chase HQ. I kind of wish I had I wish they had it more of a Nintendo, or a little bit better than a Game Boy. Eventually, I did figure out to download the ROM, but the downside with the ROM is that you're using a controller now instead of the steering wheel and the gas pedal. Because it had a shifter, it had the gas pedal, and it also had a nitro button. You push the button on the shifter, and you kicked into this nitro, and you just flew. And the whole object of the game, if you're not sure or if you never heard of this, is you're pretty much a cop, and you're in a Porsche 928, and you're chasing down criminals who are in Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, and stuff like that. And you literally just gotta fly up behind them, kind of like a pole position style game, or Rad Racer, or all those racing games. You had to get up behind them, and you had to smash into the back of their car until eventually their car started to catch on fire, and they would just slowly turn over the side of the road, and you get out and you arrest them. So it's a really cool game. I really enjoyed it. I could never beat it in the arcade. Never had enough money to do that. But once I got the emulator, I was able to keep playing it and playing it and playing it and eventually beat it. But yeah, it would have taken a lot of quarters. And where am I going to this? Okay, the last one. This is also Nintendo, but this is Nintendo 64. This is Cruisin World. And I like this one because it was much like with the Chase HQ, the racing game. This one, you know, similar. I played it in the arcade and I really enjoyed it. I remember the arcade one always had the sit-in cabinet, so you'd actually sit down and you'd feel like you're actually in a racing car. I mean, that's not new. I mean, Pole Position did that back in the old Atari days. But still, I mean, this was a cool game. I mean, I played it a lot. There was Cruisin World, there was Cruisin, I think there was Cruisin USA. I know there was a bunch of them. I still see them in arcades today. I still see like very similar games to this one. And so when I got my Nintendo 64 and I saw that this was out, I had to get this. Now with this, I actually did buy the steering wheel that actually worked on the N64. And it was one of those steering juniors, and it connected to the, either you could connect it to the N64 or you can connect it to a PlayStation 2, I think. But I didn't like it. I didn't like it very much. I felt it was kind of awkward. You kind of had to have your setup where you had like a table in front of you, and you had to put the gas pedal on the floor, and you were sitting on your couch, and I don't know. I just didn't find it. It did nothing for me. I would rather just hold the remote at that part, the controller. I mean, because it just didn't feel right. It was kind of weird. And so I ended up selling it off to a used secondhand store for not much, actually. I think he shafted me on that one, but yeah. I mean, it's old, and I don't think anybody's really going to care about it. But yeah, Cruisin World was definitely, and it's still one that I would like to play again today. Really, you know, it had all the great music, great sound effects, great driving experience. One of my more favorite racing games on, well, especially on this system. I don't have a lot of games on the N64. I don't know why. I think some of them are just a little bit over my head. But anyways, yeah, so that's pretty much my choices for the letter C. I know I missed out a bunch. I didn't really tap into Commodore 64. I was thinking about it with like, I don't know. A lot of what I would have played on the Commodore 64, again, would have been on other systems like Contra and Congo Bongo, you know, things like that. So Choplifter, again, I played it on the Commodore 64. So there really wasn't much I could throw in there that would really, you know, be any different. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Let me know what you think of the choices. Throw some at me what you think, what your favorite games are. You know, whether it be Atari and television. I mean, it could be Combat on the Atari 2600. I don't know. Throw them at me. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe to my channel. Talk to you later.